And astonishing goal. That's the way to do it. Herrera. Ibrahimovic! With 3.5 minutes to play. Now Di Maria wants it back, gets it back. Fantastic.
That's the luck of the bounce off Gaston Ramirez. Top try! What a day this is turning out to be for Manchester United.
Mason Greenwood hits the spot.
In he goes towards Muriel. What a save, David De Gea. Brilliant save.
And James. Dream debut. Daniel James.
Hello and welcome to the United Devils podcast. This week we are going to be predicting our relegation candidates, our top 6 candidates, the Premier League Golden Boot and the Premier League Golden Glove winners for the end of this season. With me today we have a brand new panellist in Andrew. Welcome, Andrew. Why don't you say a little bit about yourself?
Hi there, Andrew here. Big Man United fan. I've been a United fan all my life. So have a season ticket at United. So been there, going there the last couple of years. And before that, I had membership. So big United fan all my life. So favourite all-time player at United is Eric Cantona.
I think there's a fair few who would agree with that. And of course, we also welcome back Suraj. How are you?
Hi Arjun. All good. It's going fine. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Just a bit, it's, nice it's actually started to rain for once. We can say that.
Right.
We'll just get straight into it. We're going to be discussing our relegation candidates for this season. Obviously, with 9 games to go, there's still a lot in the air, especially with there being such a tight margin, basically for the whole table. And it's pretty much anyone's game. Anyone could go down, hopefully even Arsenal. But we will see how that pans out. And we'll start with our predictions. So, Andrew, what have you got for your predicted relegation 3?
I'm going to go, firstly with Norwich. I just think they're on 21 points at the moment, but I just think they've just got too much to do to catch, Villa and Bournemouth, and I just don't think they're going to make it out of it. And I give credit to Norwich and their manager. They've played the way they have all over the season. They've not changed from it or gone from one system to the other. The manager there, Daniel Farke, has just kept to his system, and the board's backed him. They haven't sacked him, but I just think that they've just been conceding too many goals, and that's going to cost them in the end. So I say Norwich, they can't get out of that. My second choice is Aston Villa. Given they're a big club, I would like to see them stay in the Premier League. But I think if they were to get out of it, I think it'd be down to like one man, and that would be Jack Grealish. But they've had a few injuries. Their star striker Wesley's out, and I don't think he's going to be back before the end when this season finally finishes. So I think they've just got not many options up front. So it's just where seeing the goals are going to come from, and I just think Aston Villa are probably going to go down. My third choice, this was a very tricky one from looking at the rest of the teams that were near the relegation, but I've gone with West Ham on this one.
Oh,
I could have chosen like Watford or Brighton, but I just think Nigel Pearson being at Watford, I just think what he's doing there, I think he's had a positive effect on them, and I just think he's going to make them stay up. And Brighton, I just think the same thing as well. So, and I'm going to see with Southampton pulling away as well. I just think West Ham, I just don't think they've got enough in their squad to literally keep them up. So that would be my 3 choices on for the relegation battle. So there were the 3 teams to go down, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. Yeah, what I will say is Bournemouth. Do you think what gives them what gives them the advantage over West Ham?
I just think with the players they've got in their squad and their strikers, so Josh King and Callum Wilson, I just think them coming back, I just think they'll get the points that they require and they'll stay up. But just looking at West Ham, I'm just thinking they're running. I'm just thinking, I don't know. I'm just thinking West Ham. I just don't think they've got enough in their squad to literally keep them up. So that would be my 3 choices on for the relegation battle. So, and the who they've got to play. I just think because the first game is Wolves, then it's Tottenham, and then Chelsea. I just think I don't see them getting those 3 games a result. So if those other teams around them start getting the points, then they're going to easily be sucked into the relegation battle.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very, very good point. Yeah. Suraj, would you agree with those 3 choices?
Yeah, I agree with 2 out of 3. And the first 2 are obvious. It's Norwich definitely going down, which is a shame because when they first came up, I noticed one thing is like how when Wolves came up, they had a predominantly Portuguese squad with a Portuguese manager. And I noticed that Norwich had a predominantly German side with the German manager. And before the season, I was all over Twitter saying these guys are going to be as good as Wolves. And someone pointed out that Wolves had good Portuguese players and these guys don't. And they've just shown that they're really bad and they'll be going down, definitely. Aston Villa could have saved themselves, but I think had they had a few results where instead of a draw, it was a win, they'd be in the fight. But I think it's a little too late for them. And the third club for me would be Brighton. Even though they're 2 points clear of the relegation battle, they yet to play 4 of the original top 6 teams. They yet to play Arsenal, United, and then they have Liverpool and City back to back. So I think that's definitely 12 points that they're going to drop. And as Andrew mentioned, Watford have Pearson. West Ham have some really good quality players. And Bournemouth, even though they're not that good, the only reason I put Brighton in there is that Bournemouth face 3 of the top 6 sides, and Brighton face 4. So I think Brighton are going down as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I do think at points with Brighton, they have really been saved by Neil Maupay's goals, and the fact that he's made, I think it's over. There's over a fifth of Brighton's goals have come from Neil Maupay, who in his first season in the Premier League, that's exceptional work for him. But yeah, I do see your point. They haven't really scored a lot of goals, and they're conceding a fair few as well. So it does make sense. What I will say about West Ham, though, is that even with the quality players they have, I mean, we've all praised Fabianski last season, and Ogbonna, Issa Diop was linked with United when Mourinho was still there. Felipe Anderson was linked with us for how long? 4 or 5 years. Declan Rice is a current United target, although might be sort of outpriced really in that point. But they do have the quality players, but they just haven't been performing at all this season. I mean, they've got David Moyes. Do you not see that as a sign of failure in a sense?
Yeah, it's actually too close to call, and I was actually scratching my head over from the 15th to the 18th position. I was really looking for the least favorable contender in there, and I just thought that West Ham have had this fight before and they have come out. So just something about them tells me that they'll manage to just float, and I think Brighton will be going down. I'm having trouble saying Bournemouth because I really like them as a club for some reason. So yeah, it's really difficult to call.
I was going to say I was scratching my head over the third team to be relegated. I thought Norwich and Villa definitely will probably be going down. It was just looking at those teams in a round for that third spot to go down. I just think Watford, I think, will make it because Pearson, as I said, is doing a good job there and he's getting the players working again. And Southampton, they seem to be pulling away now as well. So it was between Brighton and West Ham, but I just think Brighton, he has a clear idea, the manager there, Graham Potter, how they want to play and a different style. Because I don't know whether it has worked or not because they got rid of Chris Hughton because they wanted to change the style of play and also get away from the relegation zone. At the moment, they've changed the style of play, but they're just flirting with being near the relegation zone. So it's whether having Graham Potter as manager has really worked out, but maybe just needs, to get out of this, well, finish the season, not get relegated, and then see how the team progresses the following season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Graham Potter's been praised for being an excellent championship manager. So, I mean, this is a step up for him as well. So it'd be interesting to see if he can survive and then build his career there. I will talk about Aston Villa for a bit because they have got a game in hand against Sheffield United. And while they have been very heavily reliant on Jack Grealish to give them the goods and a few goals here and there for El Ghazi and Wesley and Douglas Luiz, the problems with them have been from defence. They've conceded 56 goals this season, and it's the most in the Premier League. The one difference from they made a host of signings in their defensive line, including Matt Targett, but they did lose one player, which is a United player, Axel Tuanzebe, who came back from loan to compete for the United starting team. Suraj, how important was it how important has Tuanzebe been, and how much they miss him?
That's actually difficult for me to call because I didn't watch a lot of Tuanzebe for Aston Villa last season. But yeah, clearly they are missing him, and they have conceded a lot of goals, which obviously means there's a big gap in their defense, which they need to fix. And I think they should have addressed that at least in January. But yeah, like I said before, just a few results here and there, and they'd be clear as well. But maybe one game that they should have won was a draw, or one draw they lost, and so on. That's why they're down. They're not down because they were spectacularly bad or anything.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't replicate the season they got relegated in, the 2015-16 season, which was genuinely one of the worst Premier League seasons for any club ever, I think. Andrew, one thing about Villa is, obviously, the financial concerns that have come about from lockdown have obviously hindered most clubs, but Villa will obviously be in more need for money and to replace the squad if they do get relegated. Do you think that means that United could get a cut price on Jack Grealish?
So it all depends if they go down. And I think Villa have said, I'm not too sure where I got this right, where they said if they did go down, or then if not, they're not going to budge on the price of 80 million for him. So that was the one price quoted around for him. But I just think if he does go down, I know United will say, well, you've gone down now, but they'll try and haggle over the price. But I know Villa now, the owners they've got now, they're made the club more on a financial footing. Okay, with coronavirus, that's impacted finances, but I'm sure they've had all the contingency plans at Villa, so they can offset all these problems. But I just think if they do go down, I think we'll be able to haggle them down probably maybe 20 million or so. But say they do stay up, and then I think they'll try and hang on to Grealish. But if they do go down, I think it's pretty much apparent Grealish has said, well, I'll have to move on. So, and hopefully he decides it's at us if we do go in for him.
Thank you. Yeah. Like you said, it is all to play for, really, and lots of hypotheticals involved in that. There's lots of hypotheticals involved in the race for European football. Of course, it seems like every club is either, is both in a potential relegation fight and could also, in a few games' time, compete for European places. The league has pretty much been very, very tight, except for the title, and probably Norwich. But we've got, let's say 10 or 12 clubs that are competing for Europe seriously. I think it ends on the limit with Everton, I believe. But let's just focus on let's say top 7, because obviously Man City could be banned from the Champions League, which means that if they are there, that 5th place will guarantee a Champions League spot, and then 6th and 7th will be Europa League spots, with 8th being a Europa League qualification. So we'll start with sixth and seventh spots. Suraj, who do you think will get sixth and seventh?
All right. So in seventh place, I have Wolves. I believe they're a really good team, and that means Sheffield United do miss out. But I think Wolves are deservedly seventh because they're the better side, and they've actually made a very good comeback during the course of the season, because I believe they started really badly and they pulled up to sixth. So yeah, I have Wolves there. Then I have Spurs. Now this was tricky because Spurs have pretty much the same situation as Wolves, but Spurs have the advantage of Mourinho. Mourinho knows how to squeeze out a result, even though he's not the most likable manager. A lot of people don't like him, but he knows how to get a result when a team absolutely needs it. So I think they're just going to squeeze into that sixth spot. Should I go on? Or?
Oh no, that's fine. Well, we'll separate it. So, with those two, I mean, Wolves. I mean, they're already in European football. They're almost through to the next round. I believe they've already played one leg. It will be, it'd be good to see Wolves as a regular European, European team, really, because they have kind of, their performances do deserve it, really, and their team is just getting better and better because it is quite a young team. Spurs, I do see them getting in there, especially the fact that Kane and Son are back. They have got almost a full strength team. To face United, I believe only one player is missing, and that's Dele Alli due to suspension. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how Tottenham do turn out, and Mourinho will be wanting to get one over Manchester United after losing at Old Trafford. Andrew, would you agree with Suraj's picks for sixth and seventh place?
I've got it the reverse, so I've got Wolves in sixth and Tottenham in seventh. I just think Wolves, as I say, they've got a good squad, and I just remember back in, seemed like a long time ago, in January when we played them in the FA Cup, I just thought they gave us a real good push, and I'm just thinking other teams around them, surrounding those spots in the Premier League, I just think they're going to get ahead of Tottenham, so I think they're going to finish sixth. I just think with Tottenham, I know that how Carey came back and Son back as well, but I just think with Mourinho, you never know what you're going to get with Mourinho. You can throw anything out there. So I just think they're just not going to. I'll say they'll get the Europa League, but I don't think they'll get the sixth spot. I just think Wolves. I just think they'll just pip them to the spot.
Yeah, I can see either happening, really, because it really depends on how Tottenham move on, because obviously the current situation is that they have no fullbacks that are capable of defending, really. They've been playing Jan Vertonghen at a fullback, which, I mean, obviously he's out of position, but his pace has just been severely, depleted, and he gets completely overrun. Alderweireld still looks good, but he looks like he's lost a yard of pace. And Davinson Sanchez is very raw, and so is Tanganga, really. And then Aurier, he can't defend. It's sad watching him defend.
He likes to go forward a lot more than he likes to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something you don't normally see in a Jose Mourinho side. You normally see it the other way around, stereotypically. But he'll obviously want to try and shake that out if he does come up against Rashford. I believe it's on Friday, the Tottenham game.
Next Friday. Yeah.
Cannot wait. We'll move straight on to the fifth and fourth places. They should guarantee Champions League football should Man City remain in the top four. Suraj, who are your picks for fourth and fifth place?
So this is where it gets interesting. Fifth, I've gone for Chelsea. So that means United are fourth for me. Okay. That's because Chelsea have Manchester City at home remaining and Liverpool away remaining. And I'm pretty sure they're going to lose both. I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but on a normal, any given day, they have a much higher probability of losing these games. Whereas when it comes to United, after the Spurs game, we face Sheffield, Norwich, Brighton, Bournemouth, Villa, Southampton, Palace, and West Ham. That's a very good run of fixtures, and I think having this run of fixtures towards the end of the season is something that we're lucky to have, and especially now that Pogba is back, we have Bruno, we have Rashford back, Martial was hitting a stride, and we went into the lockdown in such great form that I think if we pick right back up from where we stopped, we can really. I think these are 8 games, and out of 8 games, we can get at least 6 wins and 2 draws, and that'll be how much? 18 plus 20, and even if we draw the Spurs game, that'll be 21 points. So I think that's great. So I think that'll put us above Chelsea. I think that's good enough to put us above Chelsea. That's what I've gone for. United in fourth and Chelsea in fifth.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, I can see that definitely happening. I can see United obviously pushing past, and I do think Chelsea will still keep Champions League football. I think they have shown over the last. I mean, after that pretty poor dip in form, they have shown that they can churn out results. Obviously, that 4-0 against Everton was very emphatic, and again they dominated Liverpool in the FA Cup. They do have. It is going to be a tough run in, obviously, with Man City and Liverpool. But Andrew, do you see Chelsea getting points from those 2 games, and also do you see them ending on 5th and United at 4th?
I say I've been slightly more optimistic. On United, but for Chelsea, I think they will finish in 5th, and I've gone with Leicester in 4th and United to finish for 3rd. So I'm being very optimistic we can get above those two teams. I say Chelsea have still got to play Leicester, so that's going to be a very key game, which we'll all be keeping an eye on, because whether one team wins over the other or it's a draw, then we can catch them. It's just remember back to that. Well, was it the derby against City, and then Chelsea had won? If only Everton had got a result against them, then United had won. We would have been there. I think was it level on points, and we might have been ahead on goal difference as well. But I can't remember now. But yeah, so Chelsea have got a tough run of fixtures, and we're having a dip in form. It's whether this enforced break is when they first come back has been beneficial to them, and they can get results. But I think, as I said, for United, I'm very optimistic. I thought we was in such a great run of form, and I mean the derby game. The last against City, the last one, I just thought it just didn't want the football to end. I thought we were going to go on a great run here. We're going to climb the table and finish the highest possible. But looking from since United have been back, all the training videos and pictures, I'm thinking I'm so excited the football's back, and excited to see Fernandes and Pogba link up together. And it depends who Ollie wants to put in the midfield with him, whether it's going to be Fred or McTominay. So I'm just excited to see that, and Greenwood, Martial and Rashford, that front 3 partnership. I just think it could become one of the most devastating partnerships in the whole of Europe. So a fearsome strike force. So I think they can fire us to 3rd spot in the league.
Absolutely. What makes your decision for Leicester to go to 4th and United to get over them? I mean, Leicester have an 8-point gap between United and themselves. So what makes you think that they're going to drop that many points?
So I think with Leicester, obviously they've still got to play Chelsea. And Suraj said our run of fixtures is more favourable, so we should get a good amount of points. So I'm just with Leicester, I'm just thinking of are they going to find that the form again? Because I mean they've got to play obviously Chelsea, Watford as well. They'll be trying to get points. Brighton and Hove Albion. So those teams are in the relegation. They're going to be fighting for all the points as well. They've even got to play Bournemouth, Tottenham as well. So it's and Leicester have got to play us as well. So they've not got quite a good run in as we have. So you can see somewhere they're going to drop points or say either lose or draw games. So I just think they might just not get 3rd spot, even though they are clearly ahead of us. But I just think our run of games, I think we can get enough points to overtake Chelsea and Leicester on this. And I've got my fingers crossed we'll we get that Champions League spot, even if it is fifth and City's ban is upheld, because I know that decision's coming, I believe, the start of next month. So we all should know that the fifth spot's the one to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do believe that justice should be done and they should be banned for at least a year. I think 2 would be interesting, and it'd be interesting to see whether they start with 2 years and then only make it 1 year, like they did with the Chelsea ban for their transfer window, and they allowed them to have January signings. Not that they made any, but
I was going to say, because I was reading, oh God, this was like many months back, an article that was in the Athletic. If I remember rightly, I think City, they weren't disputing what they had done. It was just the way that UEFA had obtained all the evidence against them. I think that's how UEFA had gone about it. I think they weren't disputing what they had done. It was just how UEFA come to get all this evidence and trying to get bring them to justice on this. So I just think the ban will. It's likely it'll probably be upheld, but they'll just reduce it down to a year, and then because I think if it was 2 years, you could see, well, the players that City got, some of those star players are going to look around and go, 2 years without European football. They might be on their phone to the agent going, can I see if there's any other clubs around? But at the moment, will there be anybody around to pay the transfer fees or even the wages for some of these players?
Yeah. I mean, to a degree, I do feel a little bit sorry for them, because they did just beat Real Madrid at the Bernabeu before the lockdown was put in, and so they could have easily gone through to the semi-finals. I believe of the Champions League, which, I mean, it would be, I think, their second time in their history they've ever done that. So I do feel a bit of sympathy, but at the same time, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I do assume that you are going to put Liverpool at first and Man City at second.
Yeah, so even though it pains me to put Liverpool first, and even more so because my dad is a Liverpool supporter, so when they do win the league, I will be getting constant reminders of it, so all the time. So I was hoping the season wasn't Adam can tell when it did, because they'd have won the league by now. We'd have had the summer to get over it, just at the moment waiting for that to happen. But yeah, I'm just to say they will win it. I say even if the season had been, curtailed and it was done on points per game or whatever decision they had decided, if it couldn't be restarted, as I said to my dad, I wouldn't begrudge you the title. You clearly were running away ahead to get it, so you deserved it. So I was like, even though it pains me very much to say it, hopefully next season we can. Well, as I say, for United, for me, the first priority is always winning the league. So hopefully from next season we can mount a challenge and compete with the likes of City and Liverpool and make a title challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that has to be the first priority, especially with the funds that we should be able to have available. Suraj, sorry, yeah. Would you agree with that though? That top three. I mean, obviously you picked United to be fourth. So would you say it would be Leicester third, City second, Liverpool first, or would you argue that Leicester could overtake City?
No, Leicester can't overtake City because I believe Leicester, and they did at the beginning of the season. Leicester played an incredible brand of football, but right before the lockdown, they, out of the last 5 Premier League games, they won only one of them, lost to one of which was to Norwich. So I think the lockdown came at the perfect time for them. So they just got to regroup now and get back to playing the same level of football. And they have Arsenal away remaining, they have Spurs away, and they have United at home, but that's the last game of the season. So I think by then the points would have been more or less decided. So I think they'll stay third, and the 5-point cushion will be more than enough to stop them from sliding down, but it won't be, their current form isn't good enough for them to cross City. And obviously the most anticlimactic season City second, and Liverpool, well, uh, yeah, like Andrew said, it does bring a great deal of pain because we overtook Liverpool with a lot of difficulty, and just to see them inch closer to us is going to be really, really painful. And then an entire summer of that, uh, and the biggest worrying aspect of it is that I don't see any other club that are going to compete with Liverpool next season unless City go and do something crazy in the transfer market. But I think they'll be cautious of that because they got to balance the books. United will be better next season, definitely, especially if Sancho comes in. But I'm still a little apprehensive about whether we'll be able to challenge Liverpool. I'm just hoping for something crazy to happen, like when Chelsea won the league and then the next season they finished 10th or something. Yeah, I'm hoping for something like that.
Well, I mean, Liverpool have shown signs of a little bit of weaknesses, especially recently. I mean, knocked out of the Champions League in some style, knocked out of the FA Cup quite easily. The Watford game was a personal highlight of mine because my little brother is a Liverpool fan. It's not worth asking about that. But watching him turn off the phone at 3-0 was a wonderful sight, really.
I was going to say my dad, because it was on TV, my dad did the same. He's like, oh, he turned it off after like 2-0. But it's like saying defensively, well, before the season was curtailed, defensively they had been starting to. Actually, probably throughout the season, they were starting to concede a few more goals. They seemed to be scoring more than the rest. But I said, at some point, you're going to be conceding goals and not scoring many at the other end, and you're going to end up losing games. But I remember just on that Watford game, as my dad would point out, the culprit seemed to be like Dejan Lovren. And the last time, I think Liverpool lost to Watford, Dejan Lovren was in the centre of defence. So my dad's not a big fan of Lovren being in the side. So he'd like to see him go from the club.
What, the self-proclaimed best centre-back in the world?
I say that to my dad as well. I said he said he's a world-class defender. I said my dad's not having that, but he'd rather have Van Dijk and if I remember, Joe Gomez, who plays in the centre as well. It's just we'd rather have them two as the centre-back pairing.
Absolutely. I mean, Gomez looks like he's going to be partnering Maguire at the Euros next year. Probably the World Cup too, because I don't see any kind of outstanding centre-backs other than them, really. I think John Stones has had his day, really. It's a shame because he looks so promising, and obviously he's been frozen out.
I was going to say, and he seems to have just gone downhill in the last few seasons. He doesn't... You say with players that have been under Guardiola, they seem to improve, whereas he just seems to have just, I don't know, gone more into his shell and just started making mistakes, which... And also for City as well, losing Vincent Kompany, not replacing him has just dealt them a real big blow, and they've not replaced him, and it's just not found. Would they ever find anyone like Vincent Kompany again, or a similar type of player that can just move City on? But well, I hope not, because then that means they would be ahead of us. So City better.
Well, I mean, obviously Laporte as well was a big loss, but I think the reason they couldn't replace them is because they were under. I assume it was because they were under scrutiny from for the financial fair play thing. So maybe that's why they were a bit more hesitant to make a big money signing. Like I think they were linked with Umtiti and Koulibaly as well, and Varane, but obviously they couldn't do so. But they are our top, our Europa League and Champions League positions for next season. I will ask you both this before we move on to the Golden Boot and Golden Glove. Is where do you both see Arsenal? Suraj, if you'd like to begin.
Arsenal have a good squad, and I'm surprised they haven't done better. I think because they've had a lot of instability during the season because of Unai Emery practically messing up the beginning of the season, and then them not having a manager for a long time with Lundberg kind of dabbling in there. And now Arteta's, he looks to be stabling the ship. And I don't think... I think that just... I'm trying to not use the word bottler. Uh, they just don't have it in them to hold a result, and the Olympiacos game showed uh, to the world actually. So I think they're not ready for that yet, but I think next season they'll be much stronger because Arteta seems to doing a really good job over there.
He has brought in something that they were kind of lacking. They lacked a bit of faith. Obviously, we saw that last season with Solskjaer when he first came in, made an instant impact, and then it sort of fell apart at the end. I say sort of, it did fall apart at the end. And well, we'll see. Fingers crossed, I guess, for Arsenal that happens. Yeah, Andrew, where do you see Arsenal finishing?
It's a very good question with Arsenal. I mean, I agree with you. I'd say, well, with Arsenal, they're probably in the same point where we were when Mourinho left. We needed someone to come in and stabilise. Arteta's come in and done that, and now he's trying to figure out how, well, get this squad playing the way he wants, the players he wants to stay in, who he's going to move out, and then decide on which players he wants to come in. So they're kind of in transition period at the moment. So just seeing that friendly the other day, I saw the goal. I was like, it's the first team squad, and I just thought, was it the second or third goal? Lacazette was going back towards the goal, chipping the ball up, and then suddenly lost it, and then handed it to Brentford player. I was thinking, what are you doing? I thought, just same old Arsenal, just great going forward, and they can have wonderful attacking football, and then defensively just be so shocking that it just easily score past them. But yeah, in terms of where they're going to finish in the league, because at the moment they are, well, because they're in ninth. It's a tough one because where I've got, I think Sheffield United will finish 8th. It's just Arsenal have got Burnley and Crystal Palace on their tails. So Burnley and Palace are only 1 point behind them. So I think they'll finish 9th, but they're gonna say they're going to have the other two clubs behind, including Everton as well, I should say, in that list. So they're going to be fighting to get in the top half of the Premier League. So they might find it difficult, and they might end up finishing the bottom half of the Premier League if results don't go their way.
Yeah. I do see that kind of potentially going through. It just depends on whether they can sort themselves out, stay focused, and stay kind of, I say stay competent, actually be competent defensively, and be a bit more clinical up front, because obviously Pepe's got a bit better. Aubameyang's been excellent this season. Lacazette's been a little bit shy, I think he's been a bit unfit as well. Ozil started to come and play actual football, which is good for them because he's pretty much their best and only playmaker. And so it would be important for them to see how that pans out. We will now move on to the Golden Boot. Obviously, it's similarly a tight challenge, really. I mean, Vardy's leading the table with 19 goals this season. Aubameyang is second with 17. Aguero and Salah closely followed with 16. Danny Ings making up the top 5 with 15. And then there's Mane and Rashford with 14. Abraham, Calvert-Lewin and Jimenez making the top 10 with 13 goals each. Suraj, how do you see it ending? Do you see Vardy breaking his record from Leicester's title-winning season at all, or do you see Aubameyang, Aguero, or Salah pushing through?
No, I actually have a different contender, which he's not first at the moment, and he's not even second at the moment. I've gone for Aguero because even though everyone in that list, the very good goal scorers, then they score a lot of goals, but when Aguero starts scoring, he scores in bags. He scores 2, 3, 4 goals and all. He's capable of that. And City have games against Burnley, Southampton, Newcastle, Brighton, Bournemouth, Watford and Norwich. So he's just going to stat pad his way to that Golden Boot. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores even 4 goals a game, because we've seen him do that. He's that good. And if we dive into statistics a little more, he has the best goals per minute ratio, that is 87 minutes. And also in terms of assists, out of the top 3 assists in the Premier League, two of them are City players, so it shows that he has the service to back his base his goals on. So I think he's easily going to reach 23 or even cross that, especially against, for example, Norwich, who will probably already be relegated by the time they face City. So it's just going to be he's going to play those games to win the Golden Boot, and I think he'll get there.
Thank you. Yeah. Obviously, world class centre forward. And you're right. I don't know if you recall. I mean, the Chelsea game where he battered them the whole time, could have got a fourth goal had he not missed from a yard out. And against Huddersfield, he destroyed them as well. Andrew, do you agree with that? Do you agree with Aguero, or do you reckon Vardy will just keep banging in the goals?
Yes, I agree with Suraj. I think Aguero will probably end up finishing Premier League's top scorer. So in some ways, I'm hoping Vardy doesn't score many more goals, because, as I say, I'm being optimistic that United will finish third. So I'm hoping Leicester don't end up losing some games, so then we can get ahead of them and Vardy's not scoring. But I think Aguero is just... I just think it's probably not appreciated as much at the moment. I mean, probably when he does leave City or retires or goes to another club back in Argentina, whether that's something he's going to do. I just think then when everybody looks back, they'll say, "Oh, Aguero, one of the greatest of all time," and he'll be more appreciated. I mean, if you wanted to choose, instead of if you could choose any other striker at a club, you probably would choose Aguero just for the amount of goals he scored. And so, yeah, I can see him, say, pipping Aubameyang and Vardy to the golden boots. But just an interesting step of looking at it, was just like the number of goals that Danny Ings has scored for Southampton. I thought he scored 15 goals. So it's just that interesting. That's probably the reason why Southampton have started to pull away. So he's probably might be... if Southampton continue with some good form after the when the season resumes, and if he starts banging in some more goals, then he could easily get into the top three. So, yeah, I'd say Aguero will finish top of the Golden Boot.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, before we move on to the Golden Glove, I will ask you both this. I mean, Rashford is on his career best goal tally with 14 goals in the Premier League, and Martial has equalled his best tally in his debut season with 11 goals in the Premier League. Suraj, I'll ask you how many you think Martial will get before the end of the season, and then Andrew, if you could predict Rashford's. Let's hear what you guys have to say.
If I'm not wrong, Martial's on 11, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and we have and we have a decent run of fixtures as well. I think he'll easily cross. Okay, I won't say easily yet, but I think he'll cross 15, and I think he'll score somewhere between 15 to 17 goals this season. And Rashford, I think because he takes penalties. Again, I don't want to jinx it, but I think he can cross 20 goals this season. Because especially if he's going to have the service of Bruno and Pogba, then, well, I'm sold.
Yeah. Andrew, would you agree with that? Would you say that Martial will also break into 20 plus goals?
I think he might just fall shy of the 20 goals, but I can just see him getting pretty close. Whereas Rashford, I think, with the remaining games we've got, I just think he will achieve the 20 goals plus. I was going to say, depends, because I know Rashford have been taking penalties, but when the season resumes, it might be. I don't want to see the case again when at the start of this season, it's like Pogba and Rashford going, well, which one's taking it? And because I know Fernandes has been taking a few penalties, it's just got to be decided. If there's a penalty for United, there's got to be a set penalty taker. That's the person that's going to take it. Unless that person is not on the pitch, there's got to be somebody else designated to take it. So I think seeing what Ollie's doing, I think Fernandes will be taking the penalties, and then Fernandes is not on the pitch, then it would be Rashford. But just say it's all to play for, and that's where everybody's going to be wanting their opportunity to score. I mean, with Pogba back as well, and Fernandes, who wants to take the free kicks as well. So there's going to be a few, let's say discussions over who's taking the free kicks as well. So because I know Rashford, he can hit a wicked free kick. I just remember that one back at I'm sure it was October, November, the League Cup.
October,
He scored a screamer against Chelsea. And we were all looking around. How did he manage to get that into the goal? It just all reminded us Cristiano Ronaldo, just like the way he just stepped up and just hit it. So, but yeah, I can see him getting. Thinking because he's on at the moment, he's on 14.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm going to say, I think 22 goals, but I'll say he could score more than that. But so I think he's going to get another, say, 8 goals in the rest of the season.
Thank you. Yeah. Of course, the FA Cup still all to play for as well for United, and having Norwich next up, you'd fancy their chances to smash them. So we'll see how that goes for United, and we'll conclude with the Premier League Golden Boot. Of course, it's 2 English goalkeepers who are currently leading. Nick Pope with 11, Dean Henderson with 10 clean sheets so far. Alisson Schmeichel level with Henderson. And following up, we have Martin Dubravka, Ben Foster, and Vicente Guaita on 9. Oh, and Edison as well, apologies. And then in 9th place, joint with Rui Patricio, David De Gea, both have 8 clean sheets each. Suraj, I'll ask you, do you think that it will be the 2 English goalkeepers to be keeping the most clean sheets, or do you think that Liverpool will win a lot of games, keep a lot of clean sheets, and just keep pushing for that title in the record-breaking season?
Right, it is definitely an odd race for the Golden Glove when you have Pope, Schmeichel, and Henderson, apart from the usual Alisson, De Gea, Edison, and so on. But I think this season it's going to be Alisson. I'd love to see Henderson prove me wrong and win it, but I think Liverpool are just going to walk the rest of the league. They're hungry for this. They're waiting for this. They're not going to mess it up. And yeah, it's going to be painful watching them win all the awards. But yeah, I think it's Alisson. Despite missing 9 games, he's still in the running. So it shows. They're pretty good, and they have Van Dijk, who does half the job for him. So I think it's Alisson.
Yeah, that's very true. Would you agree with that, Andrew, or would you pick somebody else?
I say I'd pick somebody else. I just think with Alisson at Liverpool, I just think it's where the Klopp will do. It's not when they come back, if they wrap those 2 wins they need just to get, and whether he then start to play Adrian in goal and leave Alisson out, so give Adrian a chance to have a few games. So it might be Alisson has a few less games, so he won't be having as many clean sheets. But for my top 2, I'm going to go with Nick Pope. I just think the way Burnley play and the way Sean Dyche has set them up, they are a tough side to beat. I mean, when we played them we played them twice in January in the league. Obviously, we got the away win there, but it was only 1-0. We had to work hard for that 1-0, and then obviously corresponding result at Old Trafford was not the one we wanted when they won 2-0. But I just think Nick Pope is a very good goalkeeper. Dean Henderson, he wants to prove a point to say all of us and to Ollie to say, look, I want to be the number 1 here. So if De Gea was to ever move on, then he's going to say I'm here. But there is talk that I know the loan's been extended. I'm sure the loan's been extended to the end of the season by Henderson, and I think they're looking to give him another loan to Sheffield United next season as well. So then, if that's the case, it'll be the end of next season, and we'll see what Ollie decides to do, whether he moves De Gea on and Henderson becomes the number 1, or Henderson moves on to somewhere else. But I just think those would be the top 2 that will have the clean sheet. So Nick Pope first and Dean Henderson second.
Thank you. Yeah. Like you said, it is all up for grabs. I do see your point. I do think they might rest Alisson just to give Adrian a few games, just because, especially his last game for Liverpool was probably not the best. So they might want to get him back in the good graces of the fans. and just see how that goes. I asked about Rashford and Martial, so I'll ask about David De Gea. Obviously, on 8 clean sheets in the Premier League, has already equalled last season's tally in all competitions. Suraj, do you think how many more do you think he'll get in the next 9 games?
De Gea, I think against the relegation candidates, we can keep a clean sheet. I'm not too sure about that actually, about the number. But I think he can keep at least 4 more clean sheets, which I don't think will be enough for him to win the Golden Glove. But yeah, I think he can 4 more.
Thank you. Would you agree with that, Andrew?
Yeah, I'd say I agree with it. I think he's going to get. Just looking at the fixtures we've got coming up, just think looking at the games we've got, I think he can get 6, maybe 7 clean sheets. I mean, before, say, the season was curtailed, I think, if I remember rightly, we'd only, in the last 10 games before that, we'd only conceded 4 goals. So the defence was holding up, so which means De Gea wasn't his goal wasn't being peppered with their shots. So I just think, just looking at it, I think you'll just get another 6 clean sheets at the rest of the game. So that'll put him on about. I'm just looking at the goal rate. He's on 8 clean sheets so far, so that'd take him up to 14. Right? Yeah.
Well,
I think why we sorry, go on.
No, after you, please.
Right. I think why we can't call the number of clean sheets we'll keep is because there's really no telling how many we'll keep, because we'll probably be 4-0 up or 3-0 up, and then we'll just mess up and concede 1. It reminds me of Van Gaal's last Premier League game where De Gea needed a clean sheet to win the Golden Glove, and then we were 3-0 up against Bournemouth, and then we conceded 1.
Smalling's
own goal. Yeah.
It was iconic.
Yeah, so it really, especially the look De Gea gave him after that. Yeah, so there's really no telling with United.
That's very true. And they are our predictions for what remains of the Premier League season. Before we finish, we'll just say Sky Sports have announced that they will be creating a surround sound crowd noise for the atmosphere in the grounds, to probably give it a little bit more than what we've been seeing, say, in Germany, or when the Spanish teams resumed yesterday, I believe. Of course, Sky are only broadcasting 64 matches of the Premier League, but they are going to be doing that. What's your opinion on this, Andrew? Would you rather have that, or would you rather keep it in its sort of realistic self, that it has the sense of a lockdown Premier League game?
It's a tough one. I just think, probably better with the crowd noise. I mean, 'cause there was a game on BT last week. I don't know which game it was, the Dortmund game, or was it? I think it was the Dortmund game. They played the crowd noise in. I think they did. So it did make it feel a little bit better, but it just, to me, just doesn't feel the same without us fans being inside the stadium. So, as we say, football is nothing without its fans. It just feels a bit, even though you can hear the pumping in crowd noise, you just see empty seats. It just hits home that no one's in there. There's not that real, authentic atmosphere in the stadium, cheering on the players and saying. But yeah, it just won't feel quite the same, but it just make it a tiny little bit better in my mind.
Suraj, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I was actually interested in hearing what Andrew would say, because he's a match-going fan. He goes to the stadium. So because when I watch on TV, I can pick up the chants that they're singing. I can pick up the Tony Marshall came from France chants, and all the ones that I recognize. I can hear them. And in this case, I don't know if that sound will really make a difference because I know it's not the authentic one. So my mind will always tell me that no, that's counterfeit. That's not the true noise. But it's got to be better than what I saw in the Bundesliga. The first game after the lockdown I saw was really boring because it was so dull and dead. Looked like a training game. And Schalke's goalkeeper made it feel like it was a training game. So I know it'll be better than that, but it definitely won't be like the original, the actual sound.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the LASK game where there were no fans. Well, there was one United fan who made my day when that was there. But there were, I mean, next to no fans, and it was a really weird atmosphere. But I did find it interesting that you could hear what the players were saying to each other. You could hear the celebrations a bit more. You could hear the managers shouting to the players. I did quite enjoy that, but obviously I would prefer. I mean, the idea that we can have at least a crowd atmosphere might give it a little bit more oomph when players score and things. Obviously, you know, imagine the Manchester derby that we just had. Imagine that without a crowd when McTominay scores that second goal. I mean, that would be so awful. I mean, it'd take half the emotion out of it, really. So we'll have to see how that turns out. But I'm afraid that is all we have time for this week. Thank you for listening, and thank you to both Andrew and Suraj for joining me. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Pleasure, as always.
If you have any questions or any topics you would like for us to cover, then please comment below on the YouTube video or on the Twitter or Facebook post. And if you enjoyed this, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Twitter for all of our content.